Hi, I'm Dr. Alex Fraser from the Australian Antarctic Program Partnership here at the University of Tasmania's Institute for Marine and Antarctic Studies. My role at the AAPP is to be a remote sensing scientist, and all of my work revolves around satellite remote sensing of the Antarctic sea ice. So this is a really important topic lately because although we saw a gradual increase in the amount of sea ice up to the year about 2015, since that year it's dramatically crashed, and we've gone from record highs in 2015 to record lows in 2023, and that continued again into 2024. And we're kind of seeing the same thing again this year in 2025. So it's a really important thing to study. In particular, my work is about better characterising the sea ice that we have. So we've been able to sense the extent of sea ice around Antarctica quite reliably for around 4.5 decades now. But the other important parameters, such as the thickness of the ice, we're really starting to get a handle on those elements now. So it's better understanding the ice we have and understanding how that responds to climate change, and eventually how the ecosystems respond to the changes in the ice that we see. Projects that I've specifically had funded by the ASF have been kind of broad. One of them has been on investigating how the roughness of sea ice impacts the breeding success of emperor penguins. So emperor penguins breed on a kind of sea ice called landfast ice, which doesn't move with the currents and the winds. It's kind of mechanically fastened against the coastline. And the emperor penguins need that stable kind of ice for laying their eggs and rearing their chicks when they're born. And so the stability of that ice we know is very important in the breeding success, but one thing that hasn't been looked at before is how the roughness of that sea ice that extends sometimes 50 or even 80 kilometres from the breeding location, how the roughness of that ice impacts the breeding success of those penguins. Another project that I've worked on with the ASF involves figuring out where the ocean waves travel into the sea ice, and that's a very important part of the climate system. Because as waves travel into the sea ice, they can break apart ice floes, and that then makes them more susceptible to springtime melt. And one thing that our models haven't really incorporated until now is those waves travelling into the sea ice. So with the ASF funding, I've been involved in a first-of-its-kind study to tell us exactly how far those waves are penetrating into the sea ice. And it's a process that we're now adding into our latest generation models to really improve the realism of those models and tell us more about the climate system. So ASF funding fills a really important gap in our research plans, basically. So as part of the AAPP, we're contracted to deliver on certain deliverables, increasing the knowledge around sea ice, for example. But quite often we find little gaps in between the deliverables for the project that we could see, gee, it'd be great if I had a student here for a month working on this with me. And these are exactly the kind of projects that the ASF is really good at funding for me. The ASF funding is really important to support these students, not just because of the low stipend that they get as PhD students, but also to give them more experience in a broader range of topics than just their PhD project. In terms of me personally, the ASF funding has been really important to establish a track record for me in getting external funding. And that's a really important metric for research staff and something that leads to academic promotion and tenure and competitiveness for awards. And personally for me, I went from a place of not having much external funding to being able to say that I've attracted ASF funding, and that's led to me being competitive for national fellowships such as the Australian Research Council's Future Fellowship, which I was lucky to get in 2023. So it's really a career multiplier in that way, and it's not only benefited my career, but also the students that I employed through those various tranches of ASF funding. It's been really important for them to demonstrate this kind of work experience outside of their PhD project that can lead to greater things down the track.